Hi guys, welcome to another comparison video. In this week's video, we're going to be talking about asset allocation and holistic financial planning. Really excited to bring you this video because it's something that I spend a lot of my time in my job working around, strategizing for, and making sure it's being executed correctly. What is this 5-bucket approach? How does it work, and what does it mean to you? Disclaimer here, this video is really just a discussion is really me talking about this topic. It's not to be taken as financial advice. So please seek a financial planner, or if you're that way inclined, do a ton of research and get stuck into it yourself. Okay, guys, let's start. All too often, what we see is either clients not telling their financial planner all the assets that they may have, they call it assets held away, or alternatively, or even worse, is that the financial planner isn't factoring in all the assets that you've told them that you own. A classic example of this might be that you've got 2 investment properties that are worth 300,000 USD. Now you've gone to your financial planner, you've decided to put together an investment portfolio of $1 million. He's decided to have a 10% allocation to real estate investment trusts, REITs. Now, on the surface, a 10% allocation to REITs isn't such a bad idea. However, when you factor in you already own 2 investment properties, now your exposure to that broader sector is now 28%, which might mean that you're now actually overweight. Now, I know that REITs and investment properties aren't exactly the same, but there is definitely a strong correlation there. So this is just a broad introduction as to why this is important, and also to make sure that you can plan correctly for your retirement and really get the most value for money out of your financial advisor. So without further ado, the 5-bucket approach. I first heard about this approach. Lots of different advisors have written books about this, but for myself, it was a financial planning guru called Harold Evensky. If you haven't already, please go away, do some more research, read one of his books. He's a great advisor. But Harold Evensky, this 5-bucket approach, as I stated earlier, isn't so much a strict asset allocation model. It's really designed to make sure you've got your finger on the pulse and you understand all your assets, where they fit, and you can plan accordingly for your retirement around them. So what are the buckets? First bucket is cash, which sits outside of any investment, immediately readily available and liquid. Next one is bonds and gold. That's for defensive market conditions. If we see a fall in equities, traditionally we see a movement towards these sectors, so it kind of works on the seesawing motion. The third bucket is fixed income. So that might be anything that drives you a fixed income, whether it could be considered property, it could be structured notes and derivatives, if that's how you're generating your income. It could be high yield debt bonds like HYG and stuff like that, a little bit more risky, but still anything that drives you an income. While you're still working, you might even consider your job as a fixed income because it's coming in every month, and you might want to plan to fill up those other buckets, knowing that when you hit retirement, you can reallocate your assets to then cover off that blind spot in your planning. Likewise with the gold and the bonds, you might not like bonds, you might not like gold. They're too interchangeable. You might even have something else which sits into that bucket. Once again, this isn't a strict asset allocation role. This is more about ensuring you understand where all your assets fit in the larger scale. Next one, which is bucket 4, which is large cap. That's blue chip companies. You might even just want to go straight out with an S&P 500 tracker. There are 1,000,001 ETFs by companies like Vanguard that do large cap. It's also called low volatility, high dividend companies, the 10 for 10s, guys who have been around for more than 10 years with 10 years of growth or whatever it happens to be. This year especially, large cap's taken a really big hit with coronavirus. We've seen a lot of sectors such as, storefront retail take a massive hit, manufacturing take a big hit, guys like Boeing, Airbus, a lot of people not buying cars like they used to. We've seen hotel groups obviously, and a lot of those guys fall off the cliff. So it's been a tough year for blue chip. Personally, I still quite like the Fundsmith by Terry Smith, which is a managed fund out of the UK, done fantastically well over the long term, low cost for clients too, so that could be a good stab for actively managed if you're that way inclined. And finally, in the 5th bucket, which is my personal favorite, is growth. This could be anything from, if you're an angel funder for tech, you might consider that to be your growth bucket. Even if you've got your own company, which is starting up, experimental shoelaces in Latvia or whatever it happens to be, that might be your growth bucket. IPOs, cryptocurrency, or your more sort of new traditional thematic plays, things such as 3D printing, which is going to be massive moving forward. We've got esports, you've got your FANGs, your Facebook, Apple, Netflix. Those guys are now kind of fitting more into the blue chip bucket, if I'm being honest. They're making way for the new guard, guys like Zoom, Teladoc, a whole heap of these new companies which come forward. Then your behemoths, guys like Tesla, new kid on the block, Neo, all these might fit into your growth buckets. So those are the 5 buckets. How you use them? Well, the cash bucket is there primarily if you end up in a situation like this. Very rare. I can't put my finger on this ever having happened before in the past, but let's play a game for a second. In the future, you wake up tomorrow and everything is down. Your bonds is down, gold's down, fixed income's down, your investment properties both burnt down as well, large caps taking the big hits, cryptocurrency's fallen off the face of the earth, everything's down. Well, you've still got your cash to rely on. Remember, as I said at the start, that fits outside of all your investments, liquid and readily available. What this means is that in your retirement, you should have your monthly budget. You should know what you can spend every month and what you might want to spend every month, and have that budget worked out already. Some people even plan for up to 2 years worth of cash on hand. So what this now allows you to do is that if there is a major market meltdown, you're not going to be having to close negative positions. You're going to be able to rely on that cash that you've set aside to then build out on your buckets later on. Say, for example, if one of your buckets has done incredibly well, say, for example, cryptocurrency, you might want to start to take out of that bucket. And then when the markets are at their bottom, you might want to reallocate some of the cash bucket into those to get the bottom of the market and capture some growth, depending on where you sit, whether you're still employed, you've got 10 years worth of work left, 5 years, that's really up to you. That's really it, guys. That's a brief introduction to the structure. It's how I think about asset allocation for clients. It's how it's important to make sure that you're not missing anything. So apply this kind of analogy and structure to your own holdings. You might find out that you've got some blind spots you didn't know about. It might be a bucket that you weren't holding at all that you really do need to. So great exercise to do, guys. I hope this has been an interesting video for you. Once again, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, guys, hit the like button down the bottom, hit the subscribe button as well, and we'll see you for next week's video. Cheers. Thanks.